Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Robotech.
Come on now and set sail for the future. Fly the sky, oh, the lava.
Star Trek Lower Decks, Season 4, Episode, was it 7?
7.
Parth Ferengi's Heart Place is the name of this episode, which, anyway, is directed by Brandon Williams and written by Cullen Crawford. In this episode, the Cerrito visits the Ferengi homeworld. Guest casts for this includes returning characters Max Grodenchik as Rom and Chase Masterson as Lita, along with Eric Bauza as Dar and Jeef, Dave Foley as Parth, Tom Kenny coming back as Quimp and playing the Ferengi view screen announcer, and of course, Paul F. Tompkins as Miglimo. Trivia for these episodes. Max Grodenchik and Chase Masterson reprised their roles of Rom and Lita after last portraying the characters on screen in Star Trek Deep Space Nine's penultimate episode, The Dogs of War, in 1999. It is in that episode Rom became Grand Nagus, the leader of the Ferengi people.
Oh, that makes sense.
Previously, both actors reprised their roles in Star Trek Online expansion Victory is Life in 2018. So the character of Rom.
Okay.
Do you remember Quark from the Deep Space Nine episode?
Mhm.
Rom is his brother.
Okay.
Rom is meant to be the idiot brother
Okay.
to Quark. But the thing is, over the course of the show, he's actually shown to be incredibly intelligent. He just is not a good businessman.
Okay.
Which, the fact that he's now Grand Nagus, the leader of the Ferengi people, for a nation that is supposed to be like, what if conservatism and capitalism went crazy,
Yeah.
taken to their logical extent? What if that was an entire culture of people
Yeah.
on in the show? Like, technically, the Ferengi, they were created for TNG, but they were not really fleshed out there. Well, it
Fair.
wasn't until Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
So there's this whole, when you're dealing with Deep Space Nine, you've got a lot of character stories going across the thing. So you got to bear in mind that Rom, he went from being an assistant in Quark's bar to working on maintenance on Deep Space Nine, actually being the minds behind the self-replicating minefield the Federation set up against the on the mouth of the wormhole to keep the Dominion from invading the Alpha Quadrant.
I gotcha.
And then, because of other shenanigans involving his mother, which was a very progressive Ferengi female, who convinced at that time Grand Nagus Zek that they would make a very good couple. Bear in mind, Grand Nagus Zek, and that was played by the guy who plays Vicini in Princess Bride.
Oh, okay.
That guy. He played Grand Nagus Zek.
Okay.
And there's this whole thing with them falling in love. And when the Nagus decides he's going to retire and spend the rest of his days with his honey bun, and they give it to Rob, which is like, who is the worst possible person you would give this role to?
Right.
And that's who they gave it to. And so I was very happy when I saw the clip of the Ferengi stuff in the thing. I thought, oh, that's got to be Rom. That's who that has to be. Lita, on the other hand, his girlfriend on Deep Space Nine was one of the Dabo girls in Quark's bar.
Really?
One of the girls running the basically that spinning table game. So she used to dress up sexily in the bar.
Wow. Okay.
And so that's why there's a Bajoran that's technically the second in command of the Ferengi.
Okay.
In case you're curious. Anyway, The title of this episode derives from the name of the British comedy horror miniseries Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, apparently. This episode marks the return of season 1 characters Admiral Vasiri and Quimp. Rom's love of baseball is a reference to the Deep Space Nine episode Take Me Out to the Holosuite, where he played for Benjamin Sisko's baseball team, the Niners. It is also a reference, I did not know this until I was doing this research, to the fact that Max Grodenchik was a semi-professional baseball player in high school and considered going full professional before deciding to become an actor. In Take Me Out to the Holosuite, he played baseball left-handed in order to disguise Grodenchik's real-life baseball skills. However, in this episode, he is playing right-handed. Wow. At the bar, Mariner orders a drink called the Dagger of the Mind, referencing the Star Trek original series episode of the same name. This is the first time in canon that Ferengi rule of acquisition number 8, small print leads to large risk, has appeared on the show. It originally was written for the reference book The Ferengi Rules of Acquisition, written by Ira Stephen Bear in 1995 and published by Simon & Schuster. So you could actually go and read these things.
Wow.
This is basically excerpts from their holy book. From the Ferengi holy book, basically. And they have such other great things as every once in a while declare peace. It confuses the heck out of your enemies. Quark's Federation Experience Bar and Grill is based on an actual real life attraction that was in Star Trek The Experience in Las Vegas up until about 10 years ago. Up until 2008. It ran there for 10 years as Quark's Bar in there. And it was modeled after that in Deep Space Nine, but that's basically what that's a reference to, is having a TOS era bar on Ferenginar. And of course, Quark is the one who is sponsoring this because he's got all the rights apparently in Ferengi culture. So yeah, that is what I got for the trivia. What are your thoughts on this episode?
My thoughts.
Well, let me ask this first. Is there anything that went on in this that you have questions about?
No, not really. I don't. Okay. So we had the intro to this show where this mysterious probe or shuttle, whatever, takes out a Ferengi shuttle, craft or whatever. And it's not brought up the entire episode, which I thought was a little bit weird. I thought they would have brought it up, but they didn't. And then you get our lower deckers who are now lieutenants. It's like, oh, you get to go and do what is like,
I don't remember the word they use, but basically you get to go and test out all the places. So people will know if they go to Ferenginar where to have shore leave.
Yeah, exactly.
And my first thought was, if you have shore leave, don't go to Ferenginar.
No, absolutely not. But then you have
the worst version of Vegas.
Agreed. And then you have all these 3 different little story beats going on. Be like, you have Boimler, who is like, oh yeah, I'm going to do all this stuff, and then it's
snuckered in by television.
And then be like, and then he
I was sitting there watching that. Okay, and I thought, okay, you've done a sitcom, you've done a drama.
He binged.
I'm sitting there going, where's the Star Trek parody show he's gonna get sucked into? That made a little too meta.
Maybe. But no, be like, I enjoyed that because there again, it's the shorter of the bunch, and then you get Mariner. Mariner is
we actually get some character for Mariner.
We get character from Mariner. I enjoyed this. It'd be like, it's not be like, oh my gosh, I hate Mariner, because I think Mariner's character is starting to grow up a little bit more. And like she's mad that like everybody's treating her nice, and she's so used to disappointment, where she is a very destructive character in a lot of ways, because she has all this built up I guess what would you call it?
She has been intentionally being self-destructive.
Yeah, she's very self-destructive.
Since I'm assuming a point in her career where she was became disillusioned in how Starfleet was actually run. Probably, if I was going to make a guess, during the Dominion War.
Maybe.
Because she would have been, well, so they're in their 20s in this ish. She's a little bit older than the others because she's been serving for a while.
Yeah.
So give her, say, say she's in her lower 30s.
Yeah,
maybe?
or maybe late
20s, early 30s.
Yeah.
She would have been, she would have been, she would not have made, but she would have become in Starfleet at the end of the Dominion War, at the earliest. So I can see how her getting shuffled around and getting some of these not quite as exploration heavy, like TOS, TNG era types assignments, because there just weren't any, and having to do all the crappy stuff that, comes in when you're cleaning up wartime.
Yeah, and plus I think it's a lot of more of her insecurity.
Yeah,
this is what it's kind of boiling down to, because she does mention that she was a junior lieutenant at one point.
Yeah, we actually saw her as a lieutenant junior grade.
Yeah, that's right.
In a season 2 episode when they had that flashback to Deep Space Nine.
Yeah,
when she was a Quarks.
So yeah, but like you do have a lot of this where you get a lot of character building. And a lot of this heart to heart, it's like, hey, just be like you're so ready for the ball to drop and for things to happen, and everything's kind of going right, and she's mad about it, and she doesn't know why, and then her friend kind of just points her in the right direction. It's like, hey, your life is going right. You don't have to self-destruct, and I like that. Be like, because they're gonna be like, I've always been kind of harsh on Mariner, and then you start to realize who she really is as a character. And
I like the fact that I caught on to this in season 2, and it took you till season 4 to catch it.
It happens. And so you get this, and then you get Mariner learns her lesson in some way. Because they're gonna be like, when the episode started, because I kept thinking, it was like, oh no, what is Mariner gonna do to mess something up? Because that's what I kept thinking the entire time. Because that's what I expected.
She actually doesn't do anything that's like horrible, and
minus getting into a bar fight.
And she gets into a bar fight, but I mean that could happen to anybody.
Yeah, that's true. But and I love the, like, she learned a lesson, and then you get into my favorite part. You get into my absolute favorite part. Is Tindy
actually finally saying, "Oh yeah, this couple that we've been hinting at since episode 1.
Yes,
we're finally gonna say, oh yeah, they actually are in love with each other.
Yeah, they actually do care for each other.
We're gonna go blatant with it to where they have to pretend to be husband and wife.
Oh yeah, oh my gosh.
And they actually have to deal with the fact that they actually do have feelings for each other.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that was so good. It's like you have Rutherford and Tindy, who it's like you said from episode 1, be like, it's always kind of these little seeds, be like, these characters are more than botanical friends. And I was like, oh no, please say you're going to go this route. Please say you're going to go this route. And they're like, it's like, okay. And the way they get out of it is so incredibly well done. Is the, what is that character's name? Miggly Mo shows up. And then they just
I didn't even know they were dating. Y'all are both in love with me?
Yes. Oh my gosh, that was great. And like, oh, we're getting divorced. Oh, we have no feelings for each other. It's just like, right. Because I kept
thinking, I mean, the only way they were going to be able to get out of that was to consummate their marriage.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
In a runabout shaped thing where everyone can hear.
Yeah.
It's like,
see you, but hear you. It's like, oh my gosh.
Like, wow.
I was like, okay, that got a little awkward really quick. But I love how they resolved it. And
but they were so not wanting to do that, but at the very end, it's like, oh, let's step into the CPS conduit.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Obviously, like, we're sleeping together in this conduit because it's the only way we can both fit in here. He even carries her like you carry a bride across the threshold.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. I was like, oh my gosh, you two are in love with each other. Just get on with it.
Yes, get on with it.
Yes, it was so funny because I kept thinking like, what are they going to do? They're actually, the characters do admit they're in love, or they actually start dating, or are they going to? Because I kept thinking
could date.
They still could date. They still could date. And my hope is by the end of season 4 that we do get this resolved to be like, oh, they actually do admit they do love each other and they want to start having this relationship with each other. And my fear was when they started, I was like, oh no, like please say they're not going to go like, very very progressive and just like do something funky. but I enjoyed what they did, and I found it very enjoyable. Where it's like, oh yeah, we're just gonna pretend like, oh, we're just best friends. It's like, no, we actually do love each other, and like the audience knows this. Everybody else around them knows this, except for the two, and they're denying that, which I think you'll find hilarious.
Yes.
And it was just so funny when Miggly Mo shows up. It's like, oh, perfect, you're way out of here. It's like, oh yeah, we're getting divorced. We're never gonna have any connection with each other ever again. Right.
Yeah.
But it was done so well. I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. You did something cool with this. And it's a nice step up to, because the point where they're just laughing and be like, they have to admit what they like about each other. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. It's like, oh yeah, be like, yeah, I actually love you. Oh,
of your hair.
Your hair. Yeah.
You have awesome hair.
You have awesome hair. Yeah. Oh my gosh, but it was just so perfect. I love this episode. There again, you get Mariner who learns a lesson, who is, has grown considerably in a character in my mind. And then you oh my gosh. Boimler, like the number one calls him. It's like,
yeah,
hey,
Ransom.
It's like Ransom calls him, be like, hey, do we need someone to come get you? It's like, no, I kind of failed. I'd be like, sorry, I failed. It's like, no, be like, you broke what you would normally do. And it's like, okay. And then it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna have
we're letting the local authorities come and beat you up and bring you back to the ship.
Oh my gosh, that was hilarious. Like, wait, what? Ah! It was great. I love this episode. I love the direction these episodes are going, and we're getting more and more character development, and I'm curious where they're going with this probe, and because they're basing off Star Trek 4, the voyage home.
They're not really based off.
Not really basing up, but
inspired by.
It's got some loose inspiration by Star Trek 4, which Star Trek 4 is an amazing movie. Let's just say that. Please say if they do season 5, please don't do 5. If you're gonna do it, just make it for laughs.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Technically, they have not actually followed like any of that plot.
No, they haven't.
There are no whales in this.
There's a mod.
They took an inspiration.
Yeah.
From 4, just like because season 1 did not take inspiration from motion picture.
So
2 did not.
boring.
2 did not take any real inspiration from Wrath.
True.
3
kind
of maybe had some search for Spock in there.
Kind of.
Not really. This is really the only one that's really taken an element. So I'm not thinking they'll actually do anything with not God, unless this is the one where Q actually does something interesting.
Yeah.
But
oh my god.
Anyway.
Yeah, this was a good episode. I enjoyed it.
So my half of this conversation.
Yeah. Nerd out, please.
So the thing with Rom and Lita, I love the references to the baseball because that was funny. The fact that they had to the captain and the admiral was just giving in. It's like which I'm assuming is kind of what he must do with a lot of them. And he's just like, we got to get this thing to pass. If it doesn't pass, it's not going to go. And she finally says, okay, look, I made some terms of the agreement. Here's all you'll have to do in order to join the Federation. We'll give you all these concessions if you agree to bring one other person into the Federation with you.
Oh, that was great.
It says, fool, don't you know how many planets owe us money? This will be easy to get another one to join. You should, and he automatically signs that. He says, do you know what you've done? He says, you really should read the fine print. I said you had to bring in a planet. I didn't say which one.
Yeah.
And it's Kronos, the Klingon homeworld. That was
possible.
Like, well, it's not necessarily impossible, but I have theories, but we'll get there. If it ever happens, I will find it funny.
Yes.
But the one thing that made me giggle incessantly was the war memorial.
Oh my gosh, that was hysterical.
Because the thing is, they're walking up on it, and I recognized the statue immediately.
Yeah.
I was like, there's a bar of gold pressed latinum. That makes sense that they would worship the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, what's up with this? And they're walking around and he's talking to her about it. And they talk about the war memorial and they zoom out and he talks about how the memorial was a memorial to lost prophets. She says, I thought this was a war memorial. It zooms out and you see it's the memorial to the lost prophets that were lost in the Dominion War, not to anybody in particular.
Yeah.
The not worried about anyone dying, mind you. It's like, here's all the money that was lost in the war. And every single, and it's continually scrolling entries of, I'm assuming, account names and the amount of money they lost.
Yes. And
I was laughing out loud watching that. It's like, oh, that's how the Ferengi would act.
Yeah, true.
So yeah. Oh, and there was another thing when they were showing the drink commercial for the soda, and when the guy drinks it, his ears get bigger.
Oh gosh, yes.
So in Ferengi culture, if you couldn't have guessed from that shot, lobes are not necessarily a sign of one's promiscuousness.
Or
how loaded in the that department.
Yes.
They are more of, because there's a term about having the lobes for business. So if you what they're saying is, if you drink the soda, you will become a better businessman.
Yeah. And the number one, I think, is number one's drinking it by the end.
Yes. This actually tastes pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Not bad.
It was funny.
It was
good. I love how Boimler is even he's pointing out that, this is because he's pointing out 90s era television basically, and mocking. It's like, this is kind of a cool thing. You just pick whatever. It's like a holo novel, but flatter and not as interactive. Oh, look at these commercials. And then that's when I realized, like, this is probably the first time Boimler's ever seen television.
Probably.
That's crazy.
But good.
Yeah. Anyway, this was a fun episode. I'm looking forward to the next one. I don't know what it is yet, but join us for that one. In the meantime, this has been Drew.
This is Jacob.
And we'll catch you in the next frame.
You can follow Jacob on his Facebook at Jacob B. Heron. His Facebook page, Jacob's Daily Art Corner, where he tries to draw each and every day. His Instagram at Jacob B. Heron. His Twitter at Jacob Heron. And his Letterboxd at Jacob Heron. You can find Drew on Facebook at Drew Dodgen. His Facebook page, Drew's Photobin, to see his photography. His Letterboxd page at GGeorge759. His Twitter at GGeorge759. And Instagram at Drew Dodgen. You can like us on Facebook at the Cellcast Podcast. On Twitch at the Cellcast Gaming. On YouTube at Cellcast. On Twitter at cast_cell. The Cellcast can be found at Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or anywhere else fine podcasts are downloaded from. Please rate and review us where you found us, and also on Podchaser. Email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com. The Cellcast is a proud member of both the Pop Americana and Culture Box media networks. For more information, please see the link in the description. Our theme song is Drop and Roll by Silent Partner. And remember, that's Cell with a single L.